The Trump administration's approach to international students has come under scrutiny as court records reveal troubling actions that effectively designated thousands of visa holders as criminals without proper verification. This matter is significant not only for the students affected, but also for the integrity of U.S. immigration policies and civil liberties on a national scale. Reports indicate that many international students had their immigration status unjustly changed after the administration conducted a mass review of their records, often triggered by minor legal infractions, such as speeding or underage drinking. According to legal sources, these actions led to the termination of their enrollment and work eligibility, with some students even pressured to leave the United States, despite being in full compliance with immigration laws. Legal experts argue that these decisions violate basic tenets of due process. The background of this incident reveals a hasty directive from the Department of Homeland Security, coordinating with the State Department to revoke the legal status of approximately 3,000 students, relying solely on their interactions with law enforcement records. Many of these records, even if they existed, did not indicate any serious wrongdoing, as many cases were dismissed or never went to court. In sharply critical hearings, judges expressed disbelief and frustration at government attorneys' inability to justify the sudden changes in student statuses, emphasizing the lack of due process. Moreover, a senior DHS official disclosed that a bulk data approach was used, where the names of over 1.3 million foreign students were run against law enforcement databases without individualized reviews, resulting in hasty and erroneous actions against students without opportunities for recourse or explanation. As officials continue to grapple with the cascading repercussions of these decisions, internal reviews are now underway, highlighting the urgent need for reevaluation of data management practices in immigration enforcement. Attorney Bradley Bruce Bonius, representing affected students, mentioned that this could lead to a chilling effect on international students, prompting them to abandon their studies and return home in fear of detention. As the legal landscape evolves with ongoing court cases challenging these actions, the implications for both students and broader immigration policy remain crucial in the discussion of rights and protections in the U.S. New revelations about a controversial operation by the Trump administration to cancel the immigration records of international students have raised significant concerns over due process violations and the potential impact on thousands of students across the country. This matter is crucial as it underscores the balance between immigration enforcement and the rights of non-citizen students, which could affect the educational opportunities for many. In a recent court hearing, Department of Homeland Security official Andre Watson testified that the administration relied on the National Crime Information Center database, automatically subjecting international students with minor legal issues, such as driving citations and dismissed misdemeanor charges, to scrutiny and legal limbo. This has led to at least 100 students filing lawsuits in response to the sweeping cancellation of their records. According to Watson, the DHS conducted a review of 1.3 million international students, quickly narrowing down matches with the crime database to around 6,400 names. The review process was criticized for lacking individualized assessment, as only name verification was performed with a system used to monitor students' visa compliance, known as SEVIS. Judge Anna Reyes expressed deep concern over the implications of this operation during the proceedings. She highlighted the confusion it created, as students received notices instructing them to refrain from attending classes or working, putting them at risk of violating visa requirements and facing deportation. While the Justice Department had previously claimed that canceling a SEVIS record would not affect a student's legal status, the lack of clarity and communication effectively rendered many students vulnerable. The legal entanglement continues to unfold as attorneys question the administration's motivations and procedural decisions, suggesting that many of these issues could have been avoided with more careful consideration and communication. The situation illustrates a vital intersection of immigration law and education policy, raising questions about the administration's approach to student visa holders and the unintended consequences that followed. Testimony in the ongoing trial of 3 former Memphis police officers has revealed crucial details surrounding the death of Tyre Nichols, which has sparked national conversations about police conduct and accountability. This case not only highlights the individual actions of officers involved, but also brings renewed scrutiny to policing practices across the United States, particularly in communities of color like Memphis. On the second day of the proceedings, Desmond Mills Jr., a former officer who has already pleaded guilty to federal charges, expressed remorse for not intervening during the brutal beating of Nichols, following a January 2023 traffic stop incident. Mills described how he and Officer Tadarius Bean responded to a radio call about Nichols, who was fleeing after being pepper-sprayed and tasered. Following a foot chase, Nichols was tackled, and as he struggled on the ground, Mills admitted to taking out his frustration by striking him multiple times with a baton. Mills' testimony painted a harrowing picture. He acknowledged his failure to stop the escalation of violence, saying, "I should have done something. I regret that," when questioned by prosecutors. He also confessed to misleading paramedics about the injuries Nichols sustained, exacerbating the situation that ultimately led to Nichols' death 3 days later from blunt force trauma. As the trial continues, it underscores a Palestinian medic detained during a deadly Israeli military attack on an emergency convoy has been released, according to the Palestine Red Crescent Society. This incident holds national and international significance as it raises critical questions about the protection of medical personnel in conflict zones and the conduct of military operations. Asad al-Shasra went missing following an Israeli Defense Forces attack on March 23 that targeted a convoy of emergency vehicles in Gaza. He was part of a team searching for a missing ambulance when the incident took place. This assault resulted in the deaths of 15 individuals, including 8 PRCS medics and a United Nations worker, all of whom were traveling in clearly marked ambulances. In a tragic backdrop, the IDF later confirmed that the bodies of those killed were buried in a mass grave, along with the wreckage of their vehicles. Testimonies from witnesses, including PRCS medic Munter Abed, reveal that the convoy was struck by heavy gunfire while actively responding to emergencies. Photos reviewed by CNN indicated that many of the medics were still in their uniforms, some even wearing blue latex gloves, suggesting they were engaged in life-saving efforts at the time of the attack. It took 3 weeks for the PRCS to ascertain al-Shasra's fate, during which his whereabouts remained unknown. Upon his release, a video posted by the PRCS showed the medic reuniting with his colleagues, visibly emotional after 37 days in detention, and arriving in poor health at a hospital in Khan Younis. The humanitarian organization commented on social media, labeling him a survivor of the massacre targeting medical personnel. The Israeli military initially described the attacked vehicles as suspicious, claiming that some individuals involved were affiliated with Hamas. However, they later expressed regret for the civilian casualties, attributing the failures to operational misunderstandings. Videos from the incident showed the convoy clearly indicating its purpose with emergency lights activated. Humanitarian agencies have denied the presence of any militants among those killed. As the situation continues to unfold, CNN has reached out to the Israeli military for further comments on al-Shasra's release. To our listeners in the United States and around the world, thanks for tuning into this hour of Soundly Human Newsroom. Newsroom continues right now. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's decision to terminate the Defense Department's Women, Peace and Security program has raised significant concerns about its implications for women in the military and U.S. interests abroad. Welcome to Soundly Human Newsroom. I am Ruth Sterling, live from the Soundly Human Newsroom in the AWS cloud. We begin with a story that has stirred intense emotions and raised pressing questions about the fate of hostages in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife, Sarah Netanyahu, have come under scrutiny after a conversation captured on a microphone suggested that fewer than 24 hostages are believed to be alive. This revelation has deeply outraged families of the hostages, who are demanding clarity from their government regarding their loved ones' conditions. Prime Minister Netanyahu addressed a group of holiday torchbearers, affirming that while the government has managed to return 196 hostages, 147 of whom are alive, current intelligence indicates grave concerns about the remaining 59 hostages, including the status of those believed to be living. The emotional toll of this situation has prompted strong reactions from families, who are demanding transparency and answers regarding any information held by the Netanyahu administration about their loved ones. This story highlights not only the humanitarian crisis unfolding, but also the political ramifications as families seek accountability and clarity from their leaders in a time of uncertainty. In his inaugural address delivered in January, newly inaugurated President Donald Trump declared, "From this moment on, America's decline is over," setting an ambitious tone for his second term. Nationally and internationally, this pledge resonates as the foundation of Trump's presidency, with implications for policy shifts in the economy, foreign relations, and immigration. Now, 100 days into his administration, Trump faces mixed results. Although he has signed only one piece of legislation during this period, he has implemented significant changes through executive actions at an unprecedented pace. His approval rating stands at 41%. Marking a historic low for a president at this stage, prompting skepticism among the American public. Issues such as the ongoing war in Ukraine and stalled trade negotiations with China have frustrated the administration, complicating efforts to deliver on Trump's promise to restore faith, wealth, democracy, and freedom. Advisors have cautioned that Trump operates under a tight timeline, with the 2026 congressional elections looming on the horizon. They assert that the upcoming years are critical for cementing core policy priorities. As Republicans prepare to pursue new tax cuts, the White House contemplates work on major legislation ramping up significantly in the immediate future. Notably, the internal dynamics of the administration echo the chaos observed during Trump's first term, characterized by disputes among senior advisors and purges within the cabinet. Despite his declining approval ratings, the White House remains resolute, asserting that polls have consistently underestimated Trump's support. Administration officials maintain that swift action is essential as they approach critical points on various fronts, including the war in Ukraine and trade policy, a period they describe as the big years for advancing Trump's agenda before potential midterm setbacks. Alan Alda has expressed his approval of Netflix's new reboot of The Four Seasons, a television series inspired by his acclaimed 1981 film of the same name. This endorsement from the iconic actor and filmmaker underscores the ongoing relevance of classic stories in contemporary media and highlights the creative evolution of beloved narratives. During the New York City premiere of the series, Alda praised creator Tina Fey, along with her co-showrunners Tracy Wigfield and Lang Fisher. In an impromptu speech, he acknowledged the emotional significance of the original film while commending Fey's adaptation. "I just wanted to tell Tina in front of as many people as I can how beautiful the job is that she did on this series," Alda stated, eliciting rousing applause from the audience. His heartfelt words emphasized both the legacy of his work and the innovative direction Fey has taken with the new adaptation. The original The Four Seasons is a romantic comedy that explores the dynamics of three married couples through the changing seasons, reflecting on their relationships, challenges, and triumphs. The reboot shifts the focus to a group of longtime friends experiencing various vacations, featuring a stellar cast that includes Fey, Coleman Domingo, Will Forte, and Steve Carell. This fresh take not only honors the source material, but also connects with contemporary audiences through comedy and relatable storytelling. In a light-hearted exchange, Faye expressed her gratitude for Alda's kindness, calling him an absolute icon and influence, demonstrating the mutual respect between the two creators as they bridge past and present in this new endeavor. The series is set to reflect the enduring themes of love and friendship, resonating with viewers both familiar with Alda's original vision and new audiences discovering the story for the first time. The recent Canadian federal elections have marked a significant shift in the political landscape, with the Liberal Party, led by Prime Minister Mark Carney, making a surprising resurgence. This development holds implications not only for Canada, but also for its relationship with the United States, particularly in light of rising tensions with former President Donald Trump, who has vocalized aggressive sentiments towards the nation. In a closely contested election, Carney, a political newcomer with a robust background in economics, has managed to galvanize support against Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, whose party achieved its largest share of the popular vote in decades. Both leaders publicly expressed their commitment to standing up to perceived threats from the United States, catalyzing a unique sense of patriotism among Canadians. However, this rallying cry has also exposed deepening divides along traditional political lines, reflecting a nation that is increasingly polarized on issues of leadership and governance. As voters headed to polling stations, sentiment echoed around the need for strong leadership to confront external challenges. One voter, Elaine Forbes, articulated this view, emphasizing the necessity of respect for Canada in international discourse. Similarly, Poilievre's supporters echoed the demand for principled leadership amid significant geopolitical concerns. The election has led to a landscape where two primary parties now dominate the political arena, leaving the other national parties struggling to gain traction. In their post-election speeches, both Carney and Poilievre extended a gesture of collaboration, recognizing the need to cooperate on defending Canadian interests globally. Carney highlighted the importance of humility and teamwork in governance, while Poilievre promised that the Conservatives would prioritize Canada's interests amid ongoing tensions with the U.S. However, beneath the conciliatory tones, party affiliates appeared determined to maintain their distinct platforms. Conservative MP Jamil Javani asserted his party's commitment to the future of younger Canadians, while Liberal ally Sean Fraser stressed the need for a collaborative political environment to effectively serve the population. Ultimately, the reshaping of Canada's parliamentary system poses significant challenges for both Carney and Poilievre, as they navigate the complexities of governance in an increasingly divided nation. As national and international pressures mount, the effectiveness of their leadership will be closely scrutinized in the coming months. Tragedy struck in Chatham, Illinois, where a car crashed through an after-school camp, resulting in the deaths of 4 young girls and injuries to several others. This incident underscores the vulnerabilities present in community gatherings, particularly those centered around children, and has resonated deeply across the nation. Authorities report that at approximately 3:20 p.m. on Monday, a vehicle drove through the Why Not after-school camp, striking individuals both outside the building and inside. The fatalities included 3 girls who were hit as they were outside, and a 4th who was inside during the collision. All 4 victims have been identified as female students. The local police and Illinois State Police responded promptly to the scene, where video footage depicted significant damage to the structure, unveiling a wide hole created by the impact. Several individuals were transported to local hospitals for treatment, with one requiring helicopter evacuation due to the severity of their injuries. The driver was the only occupant of the vehicle and was uninjured. However, authorities have yet to disclose additional details regarding the circumstances of the crash, or whether any charges will be filed. The Why Not after-school camp is described as a nurturing environment that provides enriching after-school and summer services. In the wake of this tragedy, Governor J.B. Pritzker expressed his condolences to the families affected and urged the community to come together in support. Local law enforcement has encouraged prayers for the Chatham community as they navigate this heart-wrenching situation. In response to the crisis, Glenwood Middle School in Chatham will offer counseling services beginning on Tuesday, and classes within the Ball Chatham School District will transition to e-learning, with all extracurricular activities cancelled for the time being. Village President David Kimsey has emphasized that the school district is prioritizing student welfare during this difficult period. As the investigation unfolds, The community grapples with the profound loss and seeks solace in one another as they remember the lives that were tragically cut short. A deadly shooting incident in Uppsala, Sweden, has left at least 3 individuals dead, prompting significant concern both nationally and internationally regarding the escalating gun violence in the country. This tragedy underscores the challenges that Sweden faces as it grapples with a rise in gang-related violence and public safety issues. According to police statements, the incident unfolded near Uppsala's Vaksala Square, where multiple loud bangs were reported by witnesses, resembling gunfire. Emergency responders discovered several individuals with injuries consistent with gunshots at the scene. Authorities have confirmed the deaths are being investigated as homicides, although the victims' next of kin have yet to be notified. The prime suspect is believed to have fled the area on an electric scooter, intensifying the urgency of the ongoing police operation. This incident comes amid a backdrop of increasing gun violence in Sweden. Earlier this year, the European Parliament characterized the nation as battling a significant wave of gang violence. With the highest rate of deadly gun incidents per capita in the European Union in 2023, Sweden's challenges are notable. So far this year, at least 40 people have been shot dead in a country of just 10 million, showing a decrease from 63 in 2022, yet still alarming in the context of public safety. The recent Uppsala shooting follows a horrific incident in February, when a gunman opened fire at an adult education center in Örebro, resulting in 10 fatalities, and marking it as one of the worst mass shootings in Swedish history. Sweden's strict gun ownership laws, which require individuals to obtain a license, reflect the country's effort to manage firearm access in a society experiencing rising violence. The motive behind Tuesday's shooting remains unclear as authorities continue their investigation. Shin Bet chief Ronan Bar has announced that he will step down from his position on June 15, following a tumultuous period marked by government tensions and internal agency failures. This development holds significant implications for Israel's national security landscape and the political dynamics within the country's leadership. Bar's resignation comes nearly 3 months after the Israeli cabinet voted for the unprecedented dismissal of the Shin Bet director, a decision that was later frozen by Israel's High Court. During a recent memorial event for fallen agents, Bar expressed his commitment to the nation and took accountability for shortcomings on October 7, when the agency failed to provide critical warnings ahead of a significant security collapse. He stated that his decision to resign is intended to facilitate an orderly succession process, although uncertainties remain regarding whether he will remain in office until his planned departure. The backdrop of this resignation is a deeply contentious relationship between Bar and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, exacerbated by allegations of politically motivated investigations led by the Shin Bet. Recently, Bar disclosed in a sworn affidavit that he was pressured to prioritize the Prime Minister's interests over the judiciary's authority during a constitutional crisis. Netanyahu, in turn, has denied these claims and accused Bar of negligence. The fallout from this power struggle has included mixed reactions from both sides of the political spectrum, with opposition leaders supporting Bar's decision, framing it as a necessary act of accountability. As the political context continues to evolve, the next steps in appointing a new Shin Bet director will be closely scrutinized, with the potential to impact both national security and the government's stability. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has declared victory in the federal elections, promising to lead a government focused on unity and sovereignty amid heightened tensions with the United States. His election marks a significant moment in Canada-US relations, coming in the wake of aggressive trade tariffs and threatening rhetoric from President Donald Trump, prompting a shift in Canadian political dynamics. Carney, leader of the Liberal Party, issued a strong rebuke to Trump, stating, "America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country," and reaffirmed that Canada would not yield. His remarks reflect growing concerns about U.S. intentions and influence, especially after a campaign that saw his party face off against a conservative opposition that initially held a commanding lead. The Liberal Party, while returning to power for the 4th consecutive term, will lead a minority government with 169 seats in Parliament, 3 short of what is needed to govern unilaterally. During his victory speech, Carney stressed the importance of resilience and mutual support among Canadians in the face of external pressures. As the first Prime Minister to hold no prior political office, Carney brings substantial experience from his previous roles in finance, including as governor of the Bank of England, where he adeptly navigated significant global challenges. The election results reflect a changing political landscape characterized by a strong anti-Trump sentiment that has rallied voters around the Liberal Party's vision of an independent Canada. The Prime Minister emphasized the need for Canada to build its own economic future, reducing reliance on the U.S. While the elections settled the immediate question of governance, it opens further discussions on the future of Canadian sovereignty and international relations, particularly with Trump signaling a willingness to work with Carney. In the context of this evolving political narrative, Carney is positioned at the forefront of addressing both domestic priorities and international challenges as he embarks on his new term. A U.S. Navy F/A-18 Super Hornet fighter jet has been lost at sea after it fell overboard from the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier while being towed on board. This incident highlights the increasing risks faced by U.S. military assets in the volatile waters of the Red Sea amid rising tensions with Yemen's Houthi rebels. The Navy reported that the aircraft was lost during a hard maneuver made by the Truman to evade missile fire from the Houthi forces, who have claimed responsibility for a drone and missile attack against the carrier. Fortunately, all personnel aboard the jet have been accounted for, although one sailor sustained a minor injury after jumping from the cockpit just before the aircraft went overboard. An investigation into the incident is currently underway. The F/A-18E fighter jet was actively being towed in the hangar bay when control was lost, resulting in both the aircraft and its tow tractor falling into the sea. According to military estimates, each Super Hornet costs over $60 million. The USS Harry S. Truman Carrier Strike Group is currently deployed in the Middle East, where it has faced repeated threats from Houthi attacks. Historically, U.S. Navy carriers have demonstrated a remarkable capability for maneuverability, with Nimitz-class carriers like the Truman being able to execute rapid zigzag turns to avoid incoming threats. However, the precise details of the maneuver that led to the loss of the aircraft have not yet been disclosed. The increasing hostility from Houthi forces has intensified since recent U.S. airstrikes aimed at the group, making the situation in the region increasingly precarious. The Navy has reiterated that the strike group and its air wing remain mission capable despite this incident, underscoring the ongoing commitment to maintaining operational readiness in this tense environment. Frustration and disappointment dominate the American political landscape, as a recent CNN poll reveals growing dissatisfaction with the current state of affairs under President Donald Trump's second term. As the 100-day mark approaches, the survey highlights a troubling sentiment that resonates across party lines, signaling significant national concern regarding political leadership and governance. The poll indicates that nearly two-thirds of Americans perceive the country as heading in the wrong direction. A notable increase in fear is evident among citizens looking ahead to the remainder of Trump's presidency, with 41% expressing apprehension about his tenure, a rise from 29% in December. This sentiment is particularly pronounced among Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents, with 71% now feeling fearful about the future, up from 63% 2 months prior. In contrast, only 8% of Republicans share this fear. The results illustrate a deepening dissatisfaction with both major political parties. Approval ratings for Republican leaders in Congress are at a concerning low, with just 37% of Americans supporting their handling of congressional responsibilities. Similarly, Democratic leaders are experiencing historic lows in favorability, with only 27% of respondents currently approving of their performance, marking the worst ratings for the party in CNN polling since 2008. Frustration intensifies as nearly half of adults disapprove of leaders from both parties, reflecting a pervasive disenchantment with the political status quo. Many respondents expressed a desire for their party leaders to take more decisive action to address their concerns. Gregory Victorian from Los Angeles urges Democrats to confront Trump more assertively, voicing a yearning for accountability and effective opposition. Amid this turbulent atmosphere, conflicting opinions emerge regarding Vice President Kamala Harris' performance had she won the presidency, with the public almost evenly divided on who would have fared better. Overall, this poll captures a significant moment of discontent in American politics, with increased anger and frustration among the populace. Approximately 45% of Americans now report feeling angry about the political system, a rise from 39% earlier this year. With majorities expressing disappointment and frustration, both parties are faced with the challenge of addressing the rising tide of disillusionment among voters. The U.S. economy may be experiencing its most significant slowdown since the pandemic, largely attributed to recent policy shifts by the Trump administration. As the nation grapples with the implications of new tariffs, economists are keenly awaiting the Commerce Department's initial estimate for first-quarter gross domestic product, set to be released Wednesday, offering crucial insights into the economic landscape during this tumultuous period. Experts predict that GDP growth will be at an annualized rate of just 0.8%, a stark decline indicating mounting concerns among consumers and businesses. The Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta has issued a more alarming forecast, projecting a contraction of 2.5%, the weakest quarterly performance since mid-2020. Factors contributing to this downturn include higher imports as businesses and consumers rush to purchase goods ahead of new tariffs, severe weather conditions that limited early-year spending, and a general pause in investment due to uncertainty surrounding Trump's sweeping economic policies. Tariffs have surged under the Trump administration as part of a strategy to address what he has declared a national emergency regarding the trade deficit. Currently, the administration has imposed significant tariffs on a range of goods, with China experiencing some of the most severe penalties. Retaliatory tariffs from China, coupled with similar responses from the European Union and Canada, have further complicated the trade landscape. Despite these measures, the trade deficit widened significantly during the year's first 2 months, raising alarms among economists. Consumer spending, a critical engine of the U.S. economy, has shown signs of weakness in the early part of the year, with a notable decline in January and a sluggish recovery in February. Only in March did retail sales rebound sharply, driven by a last-minute surge in purchases as consumers anticipated upcoming tariffs. Business sentiment surveys echo these uncertainties, revealing that many businesses are apprehensive about the long-term impact of the administration's tariff strategy, even as they continue to maintain investment levels for now. As the nation awaits the GDP figures, the economic ramifications of the Trump administration's policies remain a pivotal concern, influencing not only domestic markets but also international economic relations. The news continues. Soundly Human Newsroom starts in 60 seconds. Consumer confidence in the United States has taken a significant hit amid ongoing concerns about the state of the economy, exacerbated by President Donald Trump's aggressive trade policies. Welcome to Soundly Human Newsroom. I'm Ruth Sterling, live from the Soundly Human Newsroom in the AWS cloud. We begin with escalating tensions between India and Pakistan that have captured the world's attention. Pakistani Information Minister Atal Taher has stated that Islamabad possesses credible intelligence suggesting India may launch a military operation against Pakistan within the next 24 to 36 hours. This alarming claim follows a brutal attack last week in Indian-administered Kashmir, where militants killed 26 tourists, an incident that has ignited outrage across India and accusations toward Pakistan of involvement, claims that Islamabad has denied. As the situation unfolds, the implications of this conflict are significant both nationally and politically. with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi under considerable pressure to respond decisively to the recent violence. Modi's fierce rhetoric has raised fears of military retaliation, echoing a similar response by India following a past insurgent attack in 2019. Both nations, nuclear-armed and with a fraught history over the contested Kashmir region, stand on the brink of an uncertain escalation. President Donald Trump is emphasizing his achievements as he returns to Michigan to celebrate 100 days back in the White House. The significance of this visit lies in its focus on addressing economic concerns that weigh heavily on voters nationwide, as many grapple with the fallout from inflation and the impact of his administration's tariff policies. In the battleground state of Michigan, which is critical for Trump's voter base, local business owners are feeling the pressure of economic headwinds. Pashko Ujkaj, who operates a diner in Macomb County, reflects the sentiments of constituents both for and against the president. He expressed uncertainty about the success of Trump's second term, noting that it is too early for an assessment, particularly as voters await tangible improvements in the economy. Ujkaj pointed out that rising prices are affecting consumer behavior, with patrons visiting his diner less frequently due to financial constraints. In addition, the effects of Trump's tariff strategies, which aim to bolster the American manufacturing sector, have elicited mixed responses. John Wallace, a retired auto worker, underscored the need for clarity regarding the administration's direction on tariffs, indicating that uncertainty has created chaos, especially among local businesses. Meanwhile, some auto workers, like Chris Vitale, see potential benefits in the tariffs, citing them as a means to bring manufacturers to the negotiating table. As Trump prepares for a rally at Macomb Community College, his administration signals forthcoming changes to auto-related tariffs, a move intended to address concerns raised by key automakers. This visit represents a significant opportunity for Trump to reconnect with constituents as his administration faces rising economic challenges and seeks to reaffirm its commitment to revitalizing American industries. The mixed economic outlook and varying opinions from local business leaders underscore the complexities of gauging Trump's effectiveness in fulfilling his campaign promises. As the president seeks to bolster his support, it remains clear that economic stability will be a critical factor influencing voter sentiment in the lead-up to the 2024 election. New York police are investigating a disturbing incident involving the harassment of a Brooklyn woman last week, during protests related to Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir's visit to the Chabad Lubavitch World Headquarters. This event has sparked national attention and condemnation from various religious groups, highlighting the rising tensions surrounding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict within the United States. The incident occurred when the woman was confronted by a group of men, reportedly Orthodox Jewish counter-protesters, following a pro-Palestinian demonstration. Videos circulating online show the woman being surrounded and subjected to racial slurs, as well as being followed and verbally assaulted, while police officers were present but did not intervene. Initial police reports indicate that she was surrounded and subjected to vile threatening behaviors. The woman's account brings to light concerns over personal safety and security, especially amid the charged atmosphere surrounding this high-profile visit. Following the event, the woman, who fears for her safety and wished to remain anonymous, issued a statement demanding an immediate investigation into what she classified as a hate crime. She described her experience of fleeing the hostile crowd as terrifying, stating she felt she had nowhere to go as they chanted threats. The National Deputy Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations condemned the actions of the men involved and called for accountability from local officials and law enforcement. The protests against Ben-Gvir's visit are part of a broader wave of demonstrations occurring across the U.S., particularly on college campuses, reflecting escalating frustrations over Israel's ongoing military actions in Gaza. The tensions noted during these protests raise significant questions about community relations and the impact of political events on public safety. The Chabad Lubavitch organization, in response, has denounced the violent actions by both protesters and counter-protesters, emphasizing that such behavior is unacceptable and contrary to their values. The investigation by the New York Police Department is ongoing, as authorities work to piece together the events and assess the broader implications of this volatile situation. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order and proclamation aimed at easing auto tariffs, a move that underscores the ongoing complexities and rapid shifts in U.S. trade policy. This development is significant as it impacts the American automotive industry, which has been grappling with supply chain challenges and rising costs exacerbated by previous tariff measures. Under this latest directive, the existing 25% tariff on imported cars will remain in place, while a new 25% tariff on imported auto parts will take effect this weekend. However, the administration has introduced provisions that allow for reimbursements to domestic car manufacturers who import parts subject to these tariffs. Specifically, the reimbursement will be capped at 3.75% of the value of cars produced domestically, decreasing to 2.5% by the second year and phasing out thereafter. This policy aims to provide some financial relief to U.S. automakers as they work to enhance domestic production capabilities. At a rally celebrating the first 100 days of his second term in Michigan, Trump emphasized that these measures are intended to encourage manufacturers to source parts locally, stating, "I don't want that. I want them to make their parts here." The adjustments will also simplify the tariff structure, meaning manufacturers will only face the highest tariff applicable to their imports, rather than multiple tariffs for different components. The decision to adjust these tariffs follows intense lobbying from major automakers, who contend that the earlier tariffs would negatively affect production, employment, and ultimately, consumer prices. A coalition of U.S. and international auto manufacturers recently expressed concerns about the significant impact of such tariffs on supply chains, pointing to potential price increases for consumers and disruptions in vehicle servicing and repairs. General Motors CEO Mary Barra praised Trump's support for the automotive sector, although she indicated that the company is re-evaluating its profit forecasts amid ongoing uncertainties related to tariffs. Meanwhile, Ford and Stellantis also expressed gratitude for the revised approach to tariffs, which they believe will mitigate negative effects on their operations. As the industry navigates these changes, analysts and corporate leaders emphasize the urgent need for clarity and sustained flexibility in trade policy to protect jobs and ensure stability in the U.S. automotive market. The ongoing tensions between the Trump administration and public media have escalated with the immediate termination of 3 board members of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, or CPB. This development raises significant concerns regarding the independence of public media at a time when its funding and authority are sharply contested. On Monday, board members Laura G. Ross, Thomas E. Rothman, and Diane Kaplan received emails stating their termination from the CPB, effective immediately, issued on behalf of President Donald J. Trump. The CPB responded promptly by filing a lawsuit on Tuesday, arguing that the president lacks the authority to dismiss board members, as the corporation is established under law as a private entity meant to preserve independence from political interference. Founded in 1967, the CPB plays a crucial role in distributing approximately $535 million in taxpayer funds to public radio and television stations across the country, which include well-known organizations like PBS and NPR. The White House has indicated plans to request Congress to retract funding already allocated to the CPB in the coming years, a move that could further jeopardize the financial stability of public media. The CPB's lawsuit contends that the termination emails are legally ineffective, highlighting that the agency was designed to be insulated from governmental control, ensuring that media focused on educational and cultural programming is not subject to political whims. Notably, the CPB's board, comprised of 5 members, has a history of bipartisan appointments, with the 3 terminated members having been appointed by President Joe Biden, although Ross was originally appointed by Trump in 2018. A federal judge has scheduled an initial hearing for Tuesday afternoon to address the CPB's suit, as the corporation seeks to safeguard its governance and funding amid rising political tensions that have long surrounded public broadcasting. In a recent interview with The Atlantic, former President Donald Trump outlined his ambitious vision for global dominance, raising important questions about the future of international relations under his leadership. Trump's remarks come at a time when America's role in global politics is under scrutiny, as well as the implications of his foreign policy decisions. Trump stated his intent to rectify what he described as the limitations of his first term, declaring, "The second time, I run the country and the world." These comments coincide with a tumultuous period since his return to the Oval Office, with implications that resonate across geopolitical landscapes, from Moscow to New Delhi and beyond. Analysts emphasize that in today's global landscape, the actions of the U.S. president have far-reaching effects, as articulated by Maida Ruhe, a senior policy fellow at the European Council on Foreign Relations. She highlighted that without American support, the European Union may struggle to provide adequate assistance to Ukraine. Ruhe pointed out that Trump's assertive foreign policy raises significant concerns about whether he is steering the world toward constructive alliances or taking a more disruptive approach. Supporters of Trump often contend that traditional foreign policy approaches have led to American humiliation, citing past conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. However, critics warn that his aggressive and unpredictable tactics risk dismantling decades of alliances and may create instability. This unpredictable nature could pose systemic risks, particularly impacting relationships with nations that have traditionally faced the U.S. as a stable ally. The implications of Trump's statements are also evident in how other countries are reassessing their partnerships. For example, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer attempted to align with Trump's interests, while Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky faced a sharp rebuke during a tense meeting at the White House. Meanwhile, Canada saw a resurgence in opposition to Trump's rhetoric following demands for its annexation as the 51st state, suggesting a backlash that could reshape political landscapes domestically and abroad. Political experts underscore that Trump's approach reflects an ideology prioritizing strength over collaboration, which could result in a profound shift in U.S. foreign relations. His penchant for engaging with authoritarian figures while disregarding traditional allies raises fundamental questions about America's global standing and future alliances. As the geopolitical landscape continues to evolve, stakeholders around the world are compelled to adjust to a leadership style that blends ambition with unpredictability, but it remains uncertain how this will ultimately affect the world's peace and stability. President Donald Trump extended rare praise to Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer during his visit to Selfridge Air National Guard Base, marking a notable shift in their previously contentious relationship. This moment underscores the significance of bipartisan cooperation, especially as key political figures navigate complex issues affecting both state and national security. Trump acknowledged Whitmer's impactful advocacy for the base, stating that her efforts were instrumental in ensuring the provision of new fighter jets, a development crucial for Michigan's economy and homeland security. During his remarks, Trump noted Whitmer's previous visit to the White House, emphasizing their collaborative work despite their differing political affiliations. "She came to see me, to save Selfridge, and she was very effective," he said, reinforcing the positive outcome of their partnership. This interaction highlights a marked change from 5 years ago when Trump publicly criticized Whitmer on social media, branding her in derogatory terms amidst disputes over pandemic policies. Now, in a more cooperative stance, Whitmer expressed her gratitude for the announcement and recognized the importance of the base to the local community. She stated, "I am so grateful that this announcement is made today," emphasizing the base's role in supporting the region's economic vitality and national defense. As Whitmer positions herself as a serious contender for the upcoming presidential race in 2028, her ability to navigate relationships with both Republican and Democratic leaders could prove vital in her political future. Despite this positive collaboration, she faces scrutiny from the progressive wing of her party, particularly following her participation in presidential events alongside Trump. The dynamic between Trump and Whitmer is evolving, reflecting the complexities of governance in a polarized political environment, with implications for both leaders moving forward. Israeli forces have detained prominent Palestinian journalist Ali Samaudi during an early morning raid in the occupied West Bank, an incident that underscores ongoing tensions in the region and raises concerns about press freedom. The arrest occurred in the city of Jenin, where Samaudi's son reported that Israeli military personnel entered their home around 5 a.m., taking the 58-year-old journalist to an undisclosed location. According to his son, Samaudi was subjected to a 30-minute field interrogation by the Israeli forces, who also searched the residence and reportedly damaged property within. Samaudi, a seasoned journalist known for his work with the Palestinian Al-Quds newspaper and numerous international outlets, including CNN and Al Jazeera, has long been a significant voice in Palestinian media. His experience includes being injured in May 2022 while covering the Israeli military's actions that resulted in the death of Palestinian-American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. The Palestinian Journalists Syndicate has condemned the raid and the circumstances surrounding Samoudi's arrest, emphasizing the implications for press freedom in a volatile environment. The Israel Defense Forces have described Samoudi as being associated with the Islamic Jihad terrorist organization, alleging that he was involved in transferring funds to the group, although they have not provided evidence to substantiate these claims. This incident adds to a troubling pattern, as it marks the latest in a series of arrests of Palestinian journalists by Israeli forces. Reports from the Committee to Protect Journalists indicate that at least 84 journalists have been arrested in the West Bank, Gaza, and Jerusalem since the outbreak of conflict in Gaza in October 2023. Raising alarms about the safety and treatment of journalists operating in these regions. Samoudi is now being held by Israeli security forces for what they refer to as further treatment, as the international community watches closely for developments in this ongoing situation. The Trump administration has dismissed former Second Gentleman Doug Imhoff and several other Biden-era appointees from the board of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, a move that raises significant concerns about the politicization of Holocaust remembrance and education amidst rising anti-Semitism. This story is of utmost importance, emphasizing the ongoing battle against hate and the responsibility to educate future generations about historical atrocities. Imhoff confirmed his dismissal via a statement, expressing profound dismay at the decision. He stated, "Holocaust remembrance and education should never be politicized," underscoring the danger of turning such a critical historical issue into a political wedge. Imhoff, who has taken an active role in combating anti-Semitism following the October 7 terrorist attack on Israel, reaffirmed his commitment to fighting hate in all forms. Mary Sproulls from the White House Presidential Personnel Office notified former board members of their termination via email. Former President Trump plans to appoint new members, with White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt stating that these appointments will ensure steadfast support for the State of Israel while honoring Holocaust victims. Alongside Imhoff, several other notable figures, including former White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain and Senior Advisor to Jill Biden, Anthony Burnell, were also dismissed. Although not all Biden-era appointees received notifications about their status, the dismissals reflect a broader trend of politicization within institutions dedicated to historical memory. The Holocaust Museum acknowledged the increasing demand for its educational programs and expressed a commitment to its mission amid these changes. Senator Jackie Rosen criticized the decision, stating that it threatens the museum's mission and undermines efforts to educate the public on the Holocaust, emphasizing that awareness should transcend political boundaries. A devastating restaurant fire in northeastern China has claimed the lives of 22 people, marking another tragic incident in a troubling pattern of similar occurrences across the nation. This event not only highlights ongoing safety concerns, but also emphasizes the urgent need for improvements in fire prevention and emergency response protocols. According to the state news agency Xinhua, the fire erupted at approximately 12:25 p.m. in a restaurant situated in a residential area of Liaoyang City, located in Liaoning Province. In addition to the fatalities, 3 individuals sustained injuries. Eyewitness footage shared on social media platforms depicted intense flames engulfing the storefront, with thick smoke billowing into the air as emergency responders tended to victims on stretchers. A total of 22 fire trucks and 85 firefighters were dispatched to the scene, significantly aiding rescue efforts, which have since been completed. This incident is part of a broader trend of deadly fires in China. Earlier this year, a fire at an elderly care facility in Hebei province resulted in the deaths of 20 people. Additionally, a series of gas leaks have led to explosive fatalities, including an incident in March that killed 2 people at a restaurant in Hebei and another in September that took 1 life in Shenzhen. President Xi Jinping described the recent fire as a deeply sobering lesson, calling on local officials to swiftly address the needs of the injured, investigate the cause of the fire, and hold accountable those responsible for the tragedy. As authorities continue to investigate this latest fire, it serves as a stark reminder of the critical need for enhanced safety measures in public spaces throughout the country. A newly released image of the Sun captured by the world's largest solar telescope reveals stunning details of our nearest star, providing insights that could have significant implications for technology on Earth. The image, produced by the U.S. National Science Foundation's Daniel K. Inouye Solar Telescope, using its new visible tunable filter, showcases the sun's surface in unprecedented clarity, enabling scientists to better understand solar activity. This remarkable photograph highlights a cluster of continent-sized dark sunspots, located near the center of the sun's inner atmosphere. These areas indicate regions of intense magnetic activity where solar flares and coronal mass ejections, or CMEs, are likely to occur. CMEs are vast clouds of ionized gas and magnetic fields that can erupt from the sun's outer atmosphere, posing risks to satellite communications and power grids on Earth. Friedrich Woger, an instrumental scientist at the Inouye Solar Telescope, noted that enhanced knowledge of solar weather is crucial to preempting potential technological disruptions. Understanding the sun's behavior is especially pertinent now, as the sun has recently reached its solar maximum, a peak of magnetic activity in its 11-year cycle. During this phase, the number of sunspots proliferates, prompting heightened research efforts to comprehend their drivers and effects. This imagery emerges at a pivotal time as scientists utilize advanced technologies to probe the sun's complex dynamic, with hopes of enriching our comprehension of solar phenomena and ultimately protecting our technology-dependent society. The visible tunable filter itself represents a decade of development and offers researchers the ability to capture layered images of the sun's atmosphere with unprecedented detail. As scientists prepare to fully operationalize this groundbreaking instrument by 2026, it signifies a leap in our understanding of solar dynamics, echoing the collaborative efforts of international teams like those involved in NASA's Parker Solar Probe and the European Space Agency's Solar Orbiter missions. With tools like these, the quest to demystify the sun continues, promising to illuminate its mysteries and safeguard our planet's technological infrastructures from its energetic impacts. Meta Platforms has officially launched a separate app for its AI assistant, a move that underscores the growing competition in the artificial intelligence landscape between tech giants. This development is significant not only for the company itself, but also for the broader tech industry as it seeks to establish its foothold against established players like OpenAI and Google. The new app, unveiled on Tuesday, aims to increase user engagement with Meta's AI assistant, which has previously been confined to its extensive platform ecosystem, including WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Messenger. By offering a standalone application, Meta seeks to enhance user experience through more tailored responses, leveraging contextual information from users' Facebook and Instagram accounts. Meta's initiative is part of CEO Mark Zuckerberg's strategy to solidify the company's position within the competitive AI market. The app is powered by Llama 4, Meta's latest large language model, designed to rival leading models from competitors, boasting improvements in reasoning capabilities, enhanced multilingual support, and increased operational efficiency. Notably, this new application will integrate with Meta's AI glasses and will be paired with an existing companion app. In addition to the app launch, Meta is holding its inaugural AI developer event, known as LlamaCon, which will focus on its Llama family of AI models. The timing is critical, as Meta is also slated to report its first quarter financial results following the close of markets on Wednesday. Reports indicate that Meta plans to initiate testing for a paid subscription model for advanced versions of its AI chatbot in the second quarter, although substantial revenue from this venture may not materialize until next year. As the AI landscape continues to evolve rapidly, Meta's latest moves signal its commitment to advancing AI technology and expanding its market share amidst intensifying competition. Congressional Democrats are mounting a vigorous response to President Donald Trump's first 100 days in office, amid growing dissatisfaction among their voter base regarding the party's effectiveness in opposing the administration. This moment is significant not only for the Democratic Party, but also for the political landscape as a whole, as it reflects the ongoing struggle to balance party unity and effective opposition in a divided government. As Trump prepares to hold a rally marking this milestone, Democrats are planning a series of high-profile speeches, sit-ins, and events aimed at demonstrating their commitment to resist what they term 100 days of hell. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer announced that Senate Democrats would extend their sessions late into the evening, delivering speeches that highlight their objections to Trump's agenda. Schumer emphasized the importance of demonstrating Democratic unity, vowing that as long as Trump continues down a perilous path, he will face steadfast resistance from Democrats, the courts, and the American public. Recent polling indicates a troubling sentiment among Democratic voters, with 61% expressing disapproval of their congressional leadership. This unease is compounded by frustrations surrounding the party's minority status in both chambers of Congress, limiting their avenues to counter the administration effectively. Senator Dick Durbin acknowledged the pent-up energy and impatience that supporters feel, underscoring the limited options available to them. In a shift in leadership dynamics, Durbin announced he would not seek re-election, creating an opportunity for new leadership within the party. Among those considering a run for Durbin's influential Senate position is Hawaii's Senator Brian Schatz. Meanwhile, Senators Cory Booker and Elizabeth Warren voiced their commitment to activating Democratic responses to the Trump administration. Warren stressed the necessity for all Democratic members to be fully engaged in the fight against Trump, while Klobuchar called attention to the mess created by the current administration, reinforcing the pressing need for effective policy strategies. In a show of solidarity and resistance, Senator Booker delivered an extensive floor speech against Trump and engaged in a recent sit-in alongside House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, advocating against potential cuts to essential social programs. Both lawmakers reiterated the importance of maintaining vocal opposition to the administration's policies as they seek to revitalize the party's messaging and mobilize support. Amid these efforts, some in the party questioned the effectiveness of current strategies, suggesting that mere expressions of anger are not sufficient to foster long-term solutions. Democrat Representative Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez highlighted the need for a productive approach to opposition rather than relying solely on emotional responses. As Democrats rally to amplify their resistance, GOP senators have criticized their tactics. Senator John Cornyn remarked that the Democrats' actions seem aimed at placating an angry base rather than presenting a coherent strategy. The coming days will be critical as Democrats not only seek to maximize their message, but also navigate the complex landscape of a divided Congress under Trump's leadership. United Parcel Service has announced plans to cut 20,000 jobs this year, representing approximately 4% of its global workforce. This move reflects broader economic trends in the logistics industry as companies adjust to evolving business needs and increasing automation. The decision, disclosed by UPS on Tuesday, is attributed to technological advancements and a strategic reduction in its relationship with Amazon, its largest customer. CEO Carol Tomei indicated that this shift is part of a glide-down plan initiated in January, aiming to decrease UPS's business with Amazon by 50% by mid-2026. Tomei noted that the majority of the Amazon business being phased out has been unprofitable and not well suited for UPS's operations. In conjunction with the job cuts, UPS plans to close 73 U.S. facilities by the end of June and will significantly increase automation across its operations, with plans for 400 locations to become partly or fully automated. Tomei stated that this reconfiguration will reduce the company's reliance on human labor. The Teamsters Union, which represents over 300,000 UPS hourly workers, has vowed to contest the layoffs of its members. Union President Sean O'Brien stated that while the Teamsters support corporate downsizing of management, any attempt to undermine unionized jobs will result in significant pushback. This announcement comes amid ongoing economic uncertainty, including the impacts of tariffs on imports, especially those from China. UPS has experienced a decline in package volume from Amazon, with a reported 16% drop in the most recent quarter. Despite this, the company has not yet adjusted its full-year revenue guidance, but has warned of potential changes as market conditions evolve. The effects of tariffs on consumer sentiment and spending remain an area of concern, as UPS reviewed the implications for its business moving forward. Billionaire investor Ray Dalio has declared that it may be too late to counter the economic fallout resulting from former President Donald Trump's tariffs, suggesting that the global economic order with the U.S. at its center is fracturing. This assertion comes amidst an environment where the financial health of countries is being hotly debated, and the repercussions are felt internationally. In a recent post on social media platform X, Dalio, founder of Bridgewater Associates, the world's largest hedge fund, expressed concern that the indicators he monitors signal an impending breakdown of monetary, political, and international structures due to fundamentally unsustainable practices. His remarks reflect a growing unease about the consequences of trade policies that have driven a wedge between the U.S. and its global trading partners. Dalio's statements are further underscored by feedback from U.S. exporters, who are increasingly aware that diminished interdependencies with the U.S. economy are becoming a reality that requires serious planning. He emphasized that the United States' status as the leading consumer of manufactured goods and its role as a top producer of debt assets are fundamentally unsustainable. This discourse has taken place as investors and business leaders worldwide are grappling with uncertainty surrounding the future implications of Trump's tariff policies. Consequently, foreign investors have begun to withdraw from dollar-backed assets and U.S. Treasuries, igniting fears regarding the long-term stability of what has been known as the world's largest economy. The potential decline of the U.S. dollar as a global reserve currency is becoming a point of consideration among market analysts and economists. Dalio cautioned investors against the assumption that lending to the U.S. will yield returns in reliable hard dollars, warning of an increasing risk that countries may start to bypass the United States, forging new economic connections around it. This warning aligns with concerns raised by other high-profile figures in finance, such as Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan Chase and hedge fund investor Bill Ackman, all acknowledging the potential adverse effects of the ongoing trade war. In conclusion, Dalio's observations highlight a critical moment where the intersections of national policy and global economic dynamics are being re-evaluated, as stakeholders across the spectrum prepare for a landscape that may challenge the foundational role of the United States in the global economy. A federal appeals court has intervened in the case of Rumeysa Öztürk, a Turkish Tufts University doctoral student currently detained in Louisiana, pausing a judge's order that would have brought her back to New England this week. This legal development underscores significant tensions surrounding immigration enforcement and free speech in the U.S., raising questions about constitutional rights that resonate nationally. Öztürk has been held in a detention center for 5 weeks after being apprehended by immigration officials while walking in a Boston suburb on March 25. A district court judge in Vermont had previously ordered her transfer back to Vermont for hearings to determine the legality of her detention. Her lawyers argue that her rights to free speech and due process have been violated, citing her involvement in a campus op-ed that criticized Tufts University's response to student activists advocating for Palestinian causes. The U.S. Justice Department has filed an emergency motion appealing the Vermont judge's ruling, contending that the immigration court in Louisiana holds jurisdiction over Öztürk's case. They claim that the Vermont judge's order contradicts congressional limitations on federal court jurisdiction in immigration matters, which they argue could result in irreparable harm to the government's operations. Öztürk's legal team has expressed concerns that the pause instituted by the appeals court could prolong her detention, potentially extending for months. As this situation develops, it raises important issues regarding the intersection of immigration law, student activism, and the government's authority in these controversial areas.